calls with prefix 1234 and CLD, the number we sent. So it did exactly as we have defined here. Now, what if we want to send now the call to vendor ABCD non-CLI instead? So we're going to now try to send a call to vendor ABCD non-CLI. So to do that, what we have to do is just create a new routing group, and we'll call it to ABCD non-CLI. And here we choose the vendor, we choose non-CLI this time, and the cost of non-CLI. We save. So we just created a routing group that this time will choose this vendor and use this trunk and then this cost. So we'll save and close. And now in order to just simply assign this routing to the Softphone account that we created, which is knock test here, what we're gonna have to do is just go to accounts, and then we're gonna assign the new routing table that we created to this account. So in order, when we initiate the same call, it's gonna this time route to this vendor instead. So go to knock test. And this time we're gonna choose to ABCD non-CLI routing group and save and close. Now, every time you change routing, it is recommended that you wait like 2 minutes, 3 minutes in order for it to take effect and start using the new routing table. So keep that in mind whenever you're testing. And of course, you can create a routing table, one routing table or one routing group that will have multiple routes inside of it, and then run a least cost routing so that the call, whenever you initiate a call, it will choose the lowest price, and then if it does not connect, it will jump to the higher price and connect the call. And I'll show you how to do that in a moment. So now we have saved our settings to use the new routing group. Let's try to initiate a call and see how it gets routed this time. So the call has been made. We're gonna go to CDRs and then choose all CDRs. And as you can see, this time it did indeed go to non-CLI connection as we planned. And this time it did send a call to the vendor with a different prefix as we have defined inside our connection here. So I hope that makes sense. Now what I'll show you before we jump into the wholesale client and whitelisting their IPs and all that, we're gonna jump to real quick and show you how to create one routing table or one routing group that will have multiple routes inside of it and run a least cost routing for this routing table. So this time we'll go to routing group, and in our next call, since we're going to add multiple connections inside the same routing group, it's going to first try to connect on the non-CLI route, and if it fails, go to the CLI route. So we should see double entries for one call if everything's working correctly. So now let's add a new routing group and call it ABCD LCR, least cost routing across multiple connections. All right. So now, in order to run a least cost routing, what you need to do is remove these active policies and just include least cost. Now we're gonna choose the vendor, ABCD, CLI, and CLI cost. Save that. So let me just add a quick slide here to show you what we're doing in least cost. We're going to add a routing table, and this routing table is going to have one vendor here, and okay, so what's going to happen here is we're going to have one routing table. It's going to have one vendor, two different connections, and whenever we dial a number, let's say this number, it's gonna basically, it should route according to the least cost, then if it fails, go to the higher cost. Now, since we have profit loss protection enabled, if the selling cost is below our buying cost here, it will not reroute to it. So, but in this case, our sell cost is 9 cents, so it should try both routes. So let's try that. So we added the routing group ABCD LCR. We added the first entry, which is going to be our CLI, second entry, the non-CLI, and we're going to save and close. Now what we're going to do is go to accounts and assign our LCR routing group to the account this time. And now we're gonna try to make a call, and this time this call is gonna, it should basically send try both routes as we have discussed. So let's try to do that. Okay, I'm gonna go to telephone here and initiate a call. Now we'll go to CDRs and let's see all calls. And perfect. As you can see here, we have it tried to send two calls. One, it first tried to go to non-CLI, it failed. It tried to go to CLI, it also failed. So it did work according to the least cost routing entries. You can also simulate that here in the dial plan without making an actual call. So to see how the call will be sent, you click on dial plan, and this kind of simulates what will be the call flow if it is sent. So basically we'll have to choose our account username and the number we're trying to dial, and it will simulate how the call flow will go on the Softswitch. So here you can just choose the account that will be making the call, and the number, and click on update. There you go. It shows you how the order will be. It's going to first try to go on the non-CLI route because it has a lower cost, and then it will try then to send a call to the CLI as a second option. And here is our selling price right here. So feel free to use this tool as you find necessary. So now we have completed the soft phone client setup, created a username and a password, registered our soft phone client to it, and initiated a call to 3 different routing groups. Um, and now our next move is going to be setting up the wholesale client. And the wholesale client is not going to need a username and password. It's going to be authenticated via IP. So let's just do a quick flow on that. So we're going to have a wholesale client, and we're going to have our Softswitch in the middle, and then our vendor as well. So for a wholesale client to send the calls, you're gonna need their IP addresses. So you're gonna have multiple IPs, like let's say 10.0.0.1, sorry, 2, 3. Okay. So in order to do that, it's actually the same exact thing we did for the soft phone, except this time we're gonna need to allow the IP addresses. And to do this, let's go to accounts. And basically, you're gonna assign the same things. You're gonna assign the routing table or the routing group. You're gonna assign the service plan. So you're gonna assign the same exact things here for this client as well. Okay. So now we'll add a new client. And we're gonna call this client just wholesale client. And choose the service plan test Nigeria, and let's choose the non-CL. We're going to route them to, or let's just leave the LCR routing. So it will try 2 vendors, and let's give this client a 30 channel limit, and save and close. And now what we're going to do next is add their IP addresses. And in order to allow their IP addresses to send calls to us, we're going to need to access something called, it's going to be called authentication rules. So authentication rules is for where we will add these IPs, okay? So I'm going to go to, oh, we forgot to add a balance. So this client cannot make calls because there is no balance added to it. So just go inside of it, and we'll give it a credit limit of $2 for now as well. There you go. That's the credit limit. And in order to access the authentication rules for the wholesale client and add the IP addresses, you're going to have to just click on this arrow here, go to authentication rules, click on add rule, and you're going to basically just add their allowed IP addresses here. So we have added the first IP, Now we'll add the second IP, which is this. I apologize for my slow connection. It is taking some time to load the pages, but I hope I'm not making it too boring for you. So here's the second one, and we're gonna add the third one. And of course, you can do this via, if you have like more than a couple of IPs and you wanna just upload a bunch of them, you can download the authentication rules template file, put the IPs in the Excel sheet, and then choose and upload it, and it will add all of them at one shot. So we have whitelisted the IPs, and this client is good to go. He can start sending calls from any of these three IPs to you, and it's gonna be so they're going to send from these IPs. It will use the routing table that we assigned. It will route the call via LCR to these two vendors. And that's the wholesale client setup. Now, let's say this client is asking you, I want to send the calls to you with a tech prefix of, let's say, 4455 pound. If they want to send you this prefix in Cloud Softswitch, all you need to do is just basically strip that. You do not need to do anything other than stripping this prefix from the account. So just go inside the account properties, and you're just going to tell the switch that if a client sends this prefix, accept it, but strip it out from, just like remove it from the number. So you do not have to do anything additional. So in order to strip it out, it will be, the rule will look like this, s backslash. So it will look like that. So basically we'll just let the soft switch know that if you see this prefix, you can allow it, but remove it, replace it with nothing, so that it can choose the routing group and just proceed with the call. But in reality, you do not need to give a tech prefix for your customer at all. But it is possible to just simply strip that. So to strip it, you go inside the account properties page and then go to CLD translation rule. Just add this stripping form rule, s backslash hyphen, then put 4455, the tech prefix they want to send, and then backslash twice. And this will remove this with nothing. And it will allow it to come, but it will not affect anything. So save and close, and you're good to go. They can start sending with this prefix. So I hope that makes sense. What we have done so far is basically created our vendors, created our two trunks, created the cost of the vendors, created a routing group, created the tariff service plan, added a rate for the tariff, assigned all of these, assigned the routing group and the service plan to our softphone client, registered our softphone and initiated calls, and then we finally added our wholesale client, listed their IPs, assigned them a service plan and a routing group, and allowed them to send through the soft switch to our vendors. So I hope this covers all your questions. And if you have any more, just please let me know. Thank you.